Setting up your instruments in sequence mode is extremely similar to setting the instruments up in combi mode, with the caveat, of course, that you don't have to play any of the two tracks at once. So I'm working on piano. I can go ahead and choose my second track right here. And even though that MIDI track 2 might be assigned to general MIDI channel 2, I'll get to that in a moment, it's cool, I can still play it. So if I go to strings and I choose, let's pick strings, the Stradivari legato. So you'll notice that that particular track is happening on MIDI channel 2, but I didn't go into the Kronos and all of a sudden make it start playing MIDI channel 2. The sequencer is smart enough to know that I want to work with MIDI channel 2. I don't have to keep on going through and going, now exit out of this, go to global, set the keyboard to channel 2, now I can work with channel 2, and then vice versa. That would be kind of a pain. So much like a digital audio workstation, you can pick the track you want to work with and work on it, regardless of what MIDI channel it may or may not be on. Now, this is important to think about because you may want to run your sequences from a different device. If you have an external sequencer, I mean, you can even use a digital audio workstation, something as small as an iPhone or an iPod that's sending out MIDI and playing it back to your Kronos. I mean, if you don't want to save the MIDI files on the Kronos because you don't want to manage the files here, you can do it with an iPod or some sort of mobile device as long as you have MIDI out from there. So if you want to manage your MIDI files on something else or download MIDI files off the internet and play them back, you totally can. And that's why these MIDI channels will be helpful. You just map out the MIDI channels on your device to where you want them to go and then save those sounds on the Kronos. So if on my MIDI file I've got drums on channel 1, well, usually on channel 10, but we'll play in imaginary land for a minute, bass on channel 2, piano on channel 3, then I just go into the Kronos and assign drums, bass, and piano. I play back on my iPod, and the sounds will be played back correctly. So you can use your DAW if you want, if you're Pro Tools or Logic, to trigger all the sounds from the Kronos and record everything at once. So I've even done that before in the studio where I'll use sounds. I'll do a song on my digital audio workstation and then decide at the last minute, I really want to use a lot of the sounds from my Kronos. So I hook the MIDI cable up and I just play it back and map the tracks on my DAW to channel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the Kronos, and I can get a nice bounced version of the instruments inside the Kronos. So the first thing you'll want to do after you've created a new song and probably initialized it is start to populate the instruments with what you want. Now, if you want to use one of the templates to do that, you can do that as well, or you can even create your own. So I tap on this little drop-down menu, and I'm going to hit Load a Template Song. So I'll just pick a pop song, and I'll tap OK. And now it's used a pop template. I have a drum set there, and if I go to MIDI track 2, it's bass, piano, nylon guitar, and you can see Karma is even enabled for the guitar. So when I go in there to record, I can have a strummed guitar happening, but not necessarily utilize Karma for the rest of my instruments. Be able to record all the rest as I want to. So you get to pick which ones you want to use Karma patterns for and automatically generate those tracks.